Well, good day, everyone. My name is Tena Thomas, and I am coming to you in my new acting role as the Executive Director for the Field Operations Academy. And so I am so excited to not only be in this role, but having the opportunity to bring Tena Talk down to the FOA is really exciting for me. It's a little weird, I have to tell you, because if anyone has followed my social media from back at the Port of New York, Newark, where I permanently work, I usually do it with Dave, my chief of staff, and he gets to introduce me. And I'm always weirded out whenever he says, welcome to the next episode of Tena Talk, because it was totally CMO's idea and not mine. But I do recognize that people thoroughly enjoy it. And so very excited to be able to bring the perspective to the FOA. I've been here now for a month. It has not felt like a month. And as the saying goes, time flies when you're having fun. So I am so excited to be here, to be part of the team, influencing the new employees who are coming on to the agency and imparting whatever wisdom it is that I can. But more importantly, I get to be part of such a dynamic team, such a dynamic staff that's here, and really have the opportunity to be part of their bigger mission. So I am extremely excited and so happy to be bringing our first official episode of Tena Talk from here at the FOA. And speaking of that dynamic staff, today we are joined by one of our very own course development instructors, or CDIs, Mr. Jairo Chavarria.
Hey. Hello, ma'am. How's it going?
I am doing fantastic, Jairo. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's a pretty good, started out pretty good day today.
Yeah.
First and most, before we start, I just want to say on behalf of all the CDIs here, welcome to the FOA.
Thank you. Thank you. It's, please tell everyone thank you. I know we have a couple of town halls coming up, and I've had the opportunity to go out to different areas throughout the campus and just visit everyone in their element, and everyone just seems so motivated. And so I appreciate hearing that from you. And certainly I know when you come back, they're going to be like, so what did you guys talk about?
Yeah.
And that's where you tell them, watch a podcast,
Yeah.
and you'll find out.
Watch the podcast.
So we're going to be asking you a couple of questions today, just to get your perspective in your role here at the FOA and really what drives you. So I will ask you to first introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you chose to be here at the FOA.
Okay, so my name is Jairo Chavarria. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. My port is San Francisco, but I'm coming from Oakland Seaport. So I got to give a shout out to my Oakland guys, AT-SET Seaport. I've been in the agency for almost 9 years. I'm about to hit the 10-year mark later on this year in October. Originally, when I first graduated in 2015, 2016 from the academy, my instructors had a really big impact on me.
Yeah.
So I promised myself, we graduated from the church, the 912 wasn't there.
Yep.
So I had my instructor, it was Krug, McDowell, and Juarez. We used to call him the Bull. They impacted me a lot, and I remember that I told myself when I graduated, I was like, I want to come back and give back to CBP. I want to come back to the academy. And the opportunity arose, and that's why I'm here today.
That is fantastic. See, we always talk about the impact that staff has here, certainly from a CDI perspective and your session leads on the new trainees when they're in the classes, because you are that first example of what leadership looks like to them, right? And something that they can be. So for me, it's awesome to hear that for your time here, being in a trainee position, that you felt that. Because for me, it's important, and certainly in any leadership position, that's what you want. You want to make a positive impact. So what have you noticed is a key difference from your perspective, working in the field to now being here at the FOA?
Ooh, good question. I think one of the key changes that I had to adapt was dealing with like 44, maybe 48, depends on how many students come in, trainees, with their different attitudes and their different backgrounds.
Oh yeah.
When you're in the field, it's a different type of communication because everybody has that experience, right? So if somebody's asking you a question like, hey, how would you tackle this administrative case, or how would you tackle looking at this container, right? But here, you're dealing with somebody that has no knowledge. They're probably just graduated high school or probably college, they're college graduate or they're, they're at another end of their life where they did 20 years with local PD and now they want to continue serving their country. So it's, to me, that portion was like when I came over here and I started noticing that, man, I have 48 different characters, not everybody's going to be happy. Personalities.
Indeed.
So that to me was a little bit like a different change where I used to go to work and be like, okay, let's go talk to a passenger or let's go talk to the container. But then now I come to work and it's like I have to observe individually everybody. Hey, is everybody okay? I got to gauge my session.
Correct.
So
and such quick assessments that you have to make in that role. And they're all here, quite frankly, I mean, they chose to be part of the agency and that's why they applied. But the academy setting is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
So when you put all of these personalities in just one structured environment, it's interesting when you have to be a session lead and you're the supervisor for that class and managing it all, still teaching them, hoping that they're understanding, the information is landing, and keeping the purpose of CBP and what we do. I can 100% relate. So, I guess that leads us to the next question. A day today at the FOA, what does that look like for you?
So good question too. So it depends where they are. If you have a pretty new class coming in, you're going to see them more often. Maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to do a lot of admin. You're going to introduce them to the first units. So you're going to teach maybe the first month you will teach. You'll be with them for 8 hours. You and your code supervisor. And then after that, then they start branching out. I tell them like, hey, now you're growing up, right? Now they go to THAF on themselves. They go to firearms by themselves. And then that gives us time to go and help out other sessions that might need, like in 109 or things like that.
Right.
So it depends. The day, you got to look at your schedule every day.
Right.
We come in and they might schedule you to teach the Hatusa for another session. And then in the afternoon, they're like, hey, you got to go to 109 and assist with a slab or a plab. So it changes. And that's what I think is the beneficial part of coming to the FOA, because every day you're doing something new.
Correct.
So that's what I enjoy.
And it's
most.
so different. And I think also when you're in that CDI position, your style has to change depending on the situation, sometimes depending on the class dynamic, right? You may have a class that really gels well, and then you have another class that it takes even more work to gel, right? But I think as an individual, certainly as a leader in any position that you're at, everyone has like a certain style that works for them. So what would you say is your style of training?
The type of style that I have is that I always put myself in the trainee shoes, because we were trainees before, right? So
that's that empathy, right?
So to me, it's like I got to place myself in their shoes and remember, like, hey, some of this material might be dense sometimes.
Yes.
And how do I motivate them or captivate them to keep tracking what I'm teaching them?
Yes.
So sometimes, I come in and I tell them, like, hey, it's going to be dense. Don't fall asleep on me. You're going to take a test.
Pay attention.
Pay attention. I'm like, let's not get lost in the woods. I'm here to save you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And sometimes, that's when you start meeting your actual, like your trainees and you start picking up, okay, guys, so before we jump into it, did you guys watch the basketball games yesterday?
Yeah.
So like very recently, the Olympics, right?
Yes.
I have a trainee in my session. She was a swimmer for Alabama.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, we would talk it up about the Olympics, and I would start the class with like, hey, guys, who's watching the Olympics? Like, yeah, I'm watching the Olympics.
Yeah.
Copa America was going around at the time. So I'd be like, all right, guys, before we start class, who's watching the tournament? They're like, yeah, you guys saw Colombia, you saw Mexico? And I was like, yeah, it's a good game.
That's
and then we
awesome.
went into it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I heard so many topics as you were saying that, right? Because one of the things that I love to do, and I personally feel is one of my style of leadership, is really getting to the humanity side of what it is that we do, right? We're all people first before we put these uniforms on. And certainly we have to remember that, because it keeps us grounded, lets us see and understand what the traveling public may be going through, so that it allows us to better do our job. And I think the fact that you start with that, what allows me to relate to them? What can we talk about to say, hey, let's bring the guards down, right?
Yeah.
Make people more comfortable, which is necessary in a learning environment.
Yes.
And then they're able to retain the information more. So I love hearing that you do that, and that is part of your style, because I think that goes a far way and is a cornerstone of leadership. So we talked about training before, and we talked about your time in Cali and bringing that here.
Yes.
And one of the things, as you know, that we have here within the FOA is the field relevance and how important that is, right? Being able to do your time in the field and then bringing that knowledge, that expertise into the FOA and using that as part of your training as you're impacting the newer generation. So what field training would you say you've been able to bring over here to the FOA and you found to be impactful to the trainees?
Can I say a few, or does it have to be
Yeah,
one?
absolutely.
Okay. So I think very early on in my career, I got very lucky. When I showed up to San Francisco, I had a really good supervisor, Supervisor Shia and Supervisor Blade, which she retired.
Yeah.
And they gave me the opportunity to start out with immigration. So I didn't really do the whole routine where it's like you go to primary and then you go to baggage and you go to secondary. I got thrown in and they're like, hey, you're gonna start learning immigration right now. I was the last one in my class, and so I learned that really quick, and then kind of opened up the doors. I was able to do FDAU, part of the fraud doc teams.
Yes.
After that, they needed instructors to be an NI. So back in my port, I taught them the ZBV, the XML.
Yeah.
So having the ability to go on TDYs as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So I was able to do all different environments. I come under my resume, I've been able to work in the airport, the land border, and the seaport, because San Fran has Oakland Seaport.
Yeah, of course.
And on top of that, some of the TDYs back in 2019 and 2020, we were actually being attached to Border Patrol.
Right.
So, all that tactical experience came going to those TDYs with Border Patrol. Let's talk about like NI, right?
Yeah.
NI, anybody that you introduce or you do the introduction to radiation is gonna be like, sir, what's going on?
Oh,
right?
100%.
Right? So
is this good? Is this technology gonna kill me?
Yeah,
It's like, it's safe. Don't worry about it.
So I tell the trainees, I'm like, hey guys, we're not shelled in. We're not doing Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not separating molecules. This is just an introduction to radiation. And also with fraud docs, a lot of trainees get scared looking at documents.
Sure.
And I tell them like, hey, this is what we're gonna do every day. I show them sometimes my personal experiences, like when I'm in the field, when I got a fraudulent document, I pull it up and I'm like, hey, this is a document that I encountered when I was on a TDY in Laredo. Right. This is what we're encountering now. Right. So this is why it's very important you understand how to look at a document. Right. I did a lot of cases for 4 years as a secondary officer. When we teach the secondary portion of it here in the FOA, some people get lost within the laws, right?
Oh,
like,
for sure. It's a lot, yeah.
So I tell them,
predicate grounds. Oh, yeah. It is like talking a different language.
Yeah.
If you don't speak that language, it could really be overwhelming, for sure.
So then I tell them, like, hey, guys, I'm going to break it down. Don't worry, I'm going to save you. Don't stress it. That's like my little thing. I'm like, don't stress it. We're going to be okay.
So you address it like real math and Common Core math.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
that's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I do homework with my son, I'm like, buddy, you got this. This Common Core stuff, mommy can't do it, but I can teach you the old way of how to do it, right?
Yeah.
But that's important, because speaking their language, it goes a far way for sure.
Yeah, and then it's very rewarding when they take their first exam, or my class just finished taking 109 primary labs and they all passed, and they were like, sir, I'm like, yeah. They're like, you over-prepared us. I'm like, I told you, I got you. Don't stress it. We got this.
Isn't that such a rewarding feeling, though?
It is.
To see that the information landed, they got it.
Yes.
Especially for something that is so specific with what our mission is. Like, what we are teaching the trainees, there's not something that you learn in school, right? No. Because it's specifically applicable to our mission and what we do every day. Yeah. So this is all new information for them. And really our hope is they're paying attention, they're understanding it, so that when they get back to their respective ports, they're able to apply it.
Yeah.
And so when you see them passing it, it's like, wow, that's where the beauty happens, because I impacted that, right? Yeah. I was able to influence that, they paid attention, and to have them come back and say thank you and say that we really appreciate what you did, I'm sure that is such a rewarding feeling, because you can't manufacture that.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm very grateful for everything, the airport San Francisco and Oakland Seaport and being
Yeah.
in San Jose. Because even the basic, like when we get into like introduction to like Seaport,
Yes.
right? I have that also out under my belt. So like I tell them like,
Right.
hey guys, when you do a vessel, it's like the best thing. And they're like, why, sir? I'm like, because you're out and about, you know, you're not in
Oh,
the
my
airport
goodness.
environment, you know, you feel the breeze and you're,
It's
you
so
know,
good.
and they're
It's
like,
so
okay,
good.
sir.
Some of my best days back in the field is when I go out with my teams now, especially being in an SES role. Like a lot of what we do is behind a computer. It's like, all right, enough already. Like I want to be out in the field, and so whenever I get to go out, I do like the shipboardings. I'm like, you know, give me the crowbar. I want to bring some seals today.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, you sure? I was like, have you seen these muscles? Yes.
No.
I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about collaterals because,
Okay.
as you know, we have a lot of staff here, lots of responsibilities, but you can never have enough people to do the job, right? So I know there are a lot of collateral duties. So let's talk about, do you have any collateral duties
Yes,
here?
yes.
And what does that look like for you?
So, so when I first got here, they were like, hey, try to find a collateral that fits you. Don't, you know, just go around and start asking people.
Yeah.
One of the things that also impacted me when I came through the academy was going to be drill and ceremony.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had just graduated
Speaking
college.
my language, drill and ceremony, honor guard. I love it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that's one of the first collaterals. I wanted a drill and ceremony for me, impacted me as well when I came through the academy. I applied to be part of the health and safety committee.
Okay.
So I help with that.
Another critical mission, right?
So I've learned a lot just within the year and 4 months that I've been here, how to like do CA1s or how
Absolutely.
to do 502s. So I help out on that end, and I got a lot of good. I had a really good teacher, and even now Ms. Jackson, she's another CDI that she's in charge of that as well. She has the patience to teach us this.
Yeah.
And then the other collateral that I have right now too is I'm part of the FDAU team here.
Oh, awesome.
So right now what we're working on is replacing the curriculum, updating the curriculum,
Yeah.
especially with the new visa that came out, the bridge visa.
Absolutely.
So right now those are my 3 collaterals that I have. I want to jump on another one, but I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what, the 3 that you just mentioned are so critical to our mission and what it is that we do. And what I love the most about hearing you talk about them, because these are all topics and experiences that you're going to need and you're going to find value in when you go back to the field, right? Because we all know that we're all here at the FOA for a moment in time, and our goal is to be able to go back to either our home port or go to another place where we could take all of the knowledge and what we've done here and really use it in another meaningful way. And CA1s and 502s, like you could never learn enough about that, because even in this role, I'm still learning about what certain boxes are on the
you gotta
floor,
complete
right?
everything.
Yeah, and then it's like as soon as you get it, they change it. It's like, why are you changing something that, you know? I say that in jest, but I think really understanding the meaning of why these different areas are important and how it plays into the larger CBP mission. Let's talk about some wins, some highlights since you've been here. I know earlier you talked about just seeing the trainees excited about passing classes, but you know, we all have like certain goals that we set, and what's that been like for you?
Pretty good, and I'll be honest, man. Like I said, DNC, right?
Yeah.
A big part, and I'm very disciplined also with my session. Yeah, we have, and that's one thing. Sometimes we gotta tell our sessions. I tell my sessions, we have different hats as a CDI, right? When I'm in the classroom, I'm your teacher. When we're outside of the classroom, I'm a drill and ceremony instructor, right? So I'm gonna go address you. If you don't look the way, I'm gonna address you, right?
Yeah.
So I know I'm very tough on my session,
Yeah.
right? One of the biggest wins for me was there was two incidents. Session 636, one of their guidons from Bravo gave me their guidon, half of their guidon. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
We were in graduation. He came over and he approached me and he was like, "Sir, I want you to have this guidon."
Huge.
So that to me was like, oh man. Yeah, I almost started crying. I was like, oh man, I'm like, what's going on? So to me, I was like, I even told him like, hey, you don't have to, and he's like, no, sir, CBPO Hendrickson.
Shout out.
Yeah, another shout out. He was like, no, sir, we know that this is your first session and you impacted our life and we want you to carry it and we want you to have it. And then another win, you know, with peer support and things like that, I had a trainee that was going through a tough time, very tough time. And before he graduated, he sent me an email and he's like, sir, I know we don't get a lot of recognition, but just to let you know, the way you were with me, you know, we know that you had this expectation of us is what carried me through the academy, because I was ready to quit.
Wow.
And every day I would see you come in, sir, and you would tell us, hey, this is nothing. Fly low, keep your head up, adapt, learn, adapt, move forward. Let's continue. So when I got that email from you, I was like, okay, I know I'm not that bad.
Yeah. Like I got this.
Yeah.
I'm winning at the CDI stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing because, again, we talked about it earlier. Our hope and our goal is that we are impacting at least one person. Like I always laugh sometimes because, I'll tell people, it's like, man, my goal is to just make sure that I'm impacting at least one person positively every day. If I'm doing that, I'm winning at life, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have a class and you have a group of people who feel that way, it's like, again, something that you can't manufacture, right? And so that's amazing. Yeah. What's next for you? Have you thought about what some goals are? I know that's a tough question, right? But again, we have to make plans, right? Yeah. So just curious to hear what goals that you may have for after your time at the FOA.
So for now, I really like what I'm doing. I like teaching. I enjoy teaching. I'm going to write out, I think, my 5 years here.
Yeah.
But for sure, after this, I would like to go back home to Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
So anywhere in Miami. And, I'm at that point in my career where it's like all the doors are there. Like if I want to go up the chain, I can. Or if I just, wherever I want to go, it can be CSI because I already have the Seaport experience. So I want to go IAP or do I want to apply for pre-clearance?
Yeah.
So right now I'm just taking it little by little, and I'm enjoying my time now. So
I love that.
I haven't really put thought into it.
But you know what? I love that though, because I feel like I say that a lot as well. When people ask me what's next, I'm like, what's next? Like I don't even have the capacity to think about that right now because I'm just thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing for this moment and really appreciating where I'm at, whether it's in life, career, just really enjoying it. And I think that that's a big part because we spend so much of our time within a work environment, right? Like naturally as a human being, as an adult, you do that. And certainly with a job as demanding as ours, the times is even more so than the average person. And so knowing that you're enjoying it while you're doing it, that's a beautiful thing, right? And we could have the goals. Like I have this written down, this is what I want to do. And it'll be great if I get there. But for me and mine, and right now, enjoying it, I'm good with that too. So I love hearing that and certainly wish you the best of luck. And, one of the things that I committed to when I first started my tenure here as the XD is really trying my best to influence not only the trainees, but certainly all of the staff in the CDIs as they're here and really giving you guys the tools for success as best as I can. And I ask that you guys hold me accountable to that, right? And so because I certainly have accountability and expectations for everyone that's here. But on a serious note, I think a big part of that too is for you all to trust who's in leadership positions and have the same expectations because it's a two-way street and that's super important. So last question, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask this, especially being in the FOA seat here as the XD. Would you recommend coming to the FOA to others?
Yes, I do.
You guys hear that? Yes.
Yes. And there's many reasons why. Number one, like how we talked about the collaterals.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in the field and you want to be a CDSO or you want to learn about health and safety, you really don't get the time in the field, right? They're like, hey, you got to go man the port or you got to go man the lane, right? Here, if you're not teaching and you have that opening, you can jump into collateral. That's going to help you boost your resume and the overall, right?
Yes.
And the other thing is you want to come out here as well because I've coming here, a lot of opportunities have opened up for me, in my personal opinion, a lot of opportunities. And it's a very rewarding feeling when you see your trainees come from zero and then they graduate and they're officers, right? It's a weird feeling when you go from, as soon as they graduate and you go from like trainee, the trainee's name, and then you go to like, okay, officer, right? And then you see them start crying and then you're like, okay, I impacted them, right?
Right.
So, for sure. If it's I'm not gonna lie, it's challenging.
Yeah.
If you're not used to public speaking, if you're not, used to being in front of somebody and teaching, it might be a little bit challenging, but the training is there, and that's the other aspect that I enjoyed. Right before we even started teaching, the training department here gave us, like almost 4 months of just one-on-one training
Sure.
and showing us the ropes. So, and then you have a lot of experience here, right? When I came in, there were some guys that were already here 4 years that were teaching us the ropes and like, hey, this is how you want to do it. This is how you're going to be successful.
Right.
So with that, I highly recommend it.
That's fantastic. And no, I didn't pay him to say that,
No,
but
she
it was
didn't.
the most perfect answer. Jairo, thank you so much.
Wait, man, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm sorry. My current session is going to get mad.
Oh.
650, I'm proud of you. Thank you, Supervisor Mercado, for everything.
I
just want to say
love
that.
it. I love it. Shout out to 650. We see you out there. And really shout out to all of the sessions that we currently have here at the FOA. I love going out and talking to them. I actually have two addresses this afternoon, a midterm and an initial. So those are always different when we do them. But again, I really want to thank you. Thank you for what you've brought to the FOA. Thank you for your support of the future, because again, this is really what we're doing. And thank you for your time. I really appreciated our conversation today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to our first official episode of Tena Talk here at the FOA. Join us for many more conversations, laughs, the way how we're impacting the front line and really trying to make America the best place, because it is, and our trainees and the CBP mission. All right, Tena Talk out.